of science. He is married to the woman of his dreams, and they have a good life.
Have a good day.
Coffee to go?
Oh my gosh, you're my hero.
Until one night, he doesn't make it home. When he regains consciousness, everything has changed.
Hi, Blake. Thanks very much for speaking to me. How you doing, sir?
Hey. I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. I just finished watching the sixth episode of the series, and I'm loving it to bits. It's great.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations on that. I mean, the first question I'm keen to find out about is, obviously I know that you were involved in the writing for your previous series, Wayward Pines. No, maybe a little less so than this one. So I'm quite curious what you learned from Wayward Pines that you brought over to this series that you thought was important to make it work. I mean, maybe not better, but to make it work as well as you possibly could compared to the previous attempt.
Wayward Pines was a very unique first experience for me, and it was the first time I'd ever been on a film set or had any experience with that. And Wayward Pines was operated in some ways a lot more like a really long feature film. It wasn't, I didn't know it at the time, but what I realized coming out of it was that that's actually not the way most television is made. That's how a feature film operates, for good and for bad. So it just became really apparent to me that I needed to be very thoughtful about the department heads that I hired, that everyone that you bring on, you're going to be in essentially a year-long intense relationship with them. And, you know, geniuses are often hard to get along with or hard to manage. They're passionate and have their opinions. And you just have to figure out that rapport, because your crew, your cast is your family for that period of time. So I knew coming off of Weird Pines that I wanted to have a space in anything I did that everyone felt safe, everyone felt completely heard, that their opinions were taken into account. And if you hire the best people, you want to hear their opinions.
So it sounds almost, it's quite funny you explained that. It almost felt like you were describing Jason when he, without giving too much away for people who haven't seen it, who kind of, he's trying to find that right balance just to kind of fit in this new kind of scenery, you know?
Exactly. It's so funny. Life imitating art.
But at the same time, I mean, because this narrative is, I mean, it's the sky is your limit. You could really go and you are going as far as you probably could. But I imagine you have to set your own limits, because it's not like time travel. This is, I mean, literally, you could just think it and you could put it in there, really. So what kind of limits do you set yourself to make sure that you don't overstep your own limits?
Well, there's two limits, really. There's like, what do the worlds look like? What worlds do the characters have access to? So to your point, technically any world. But so I talked a lot with my with this astrophysicist who consulted on the show with me, Clifford Johnson. And we talked about some possibilities. If the multiverse is endless and limitless, how can we impose some limits that allow us to present a little bit more grounded and just throw up some guardrails, so we're not just suddenly going into a world where the sky is, you know, purple and the trees grow upside down. Like, we didn't want to do that. We wanted it to feel like a grounded human story. He gave me some really good thoughts along those lines, like just about conditional selection, and can you only be accessing worlds that you were born into, things like that. And the other piece was the characters themselves. When you're doing multiple versions, you know, you do a version where Jason has long hair, where he has super curly hair, where he's me. Like, but we wanted it to never feel like a skit. We always wanted them to feel like offshoots of a core character. And so I described it as, if you think of Jason, you think of him as a bunch of, like, all the iterations of Jason, we think of him as shades of the same color. There's not like a blue Jason and a yellow Jason and a black Jason and a white Jason. They're all, pick a color, they're all on that spectrum of shades. We approached all our characters that way, so they don't seem so wildly different that it feels like a cartoon or, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, I know that when you wrote the book, which is going back the best part of a decade, no, at least, I don't know when you actually started working.
It came out in 2016, so 8 years.
So I mean, when you wrote that, I think you said that you really wanted to focus specifically on kind of this battle with keeping a balance between the work, professional the kind of the career and the professional side of things with the family. But now approaching it almost 10 years later for the television series, was there anything that you kind of, as you've grown older, you've decided that you'd love to bring this into the story, that you bring it into the fold that you hadn't brought into the book originally?
Like, did life experience affect anything?
Yeah.
I don't know if thematically life experience really changed things. I think if anything, it made me a little more nuanced in the approach to the characters, like what I was just saying about shades of characters. It made me think a little more about Jason too, and not making him quite so. I mean, I know you just watched episode 6, and he does some pretty horrendous shit there. But
Yeah.
all things being equal, not making him a pure straight up villain, showing the side, the good, the bad sides of everyone. I think more than anything, it's just, I've written a lot since then, and I think I've gotten just better at my craft. But I think the things that people loved about the book are very much present and prioritized in the show.
Was there anything that when you first knew that you were gonna be writing the series, that you thought, "Oof, I'm not gonna be able to portray the same things on screen," or did you have anything kind of the other way around where you thought, I wasn't able to kind of get this right in the book. I wasn't able to portray it the way I
Yeah,
want to explain in the book, and I could be able to do it with a visual medium.
I believed that because we were working with Apple, that we would have the resources we needed to pull off anything we needed from a visual effects standpoint. I wasn't worried. I mean, it was going to be a hard job, but it's going to hire the right people and figure that out. I thought going in when I started writing the book, or sorry, when I started writing the series, it was in 2020. So we were in the middle of the pandemic. And I thought we're not going to be able to do the Plague World from episode 5, that we're not going to be able to adapt that. It's just too fresh. People don't want to, hear about this thing that they're actually living through right now. And so I never wrote that into the scripts. And only later, once we were filming, it was 4 years later, and Jennifer Connelly was like, I missed that scene. Why aren't we doing that? And I explained it to her. And then we started talking, and it was like, well, maybe enough time has passed. By the time the show comes out, it's going to be probably 2024, and we have enough distance from COVID. And it is such a powerful and critical scene along Jason's journey to get home. So that was something I thought we were not going to be able to do, but that we ended up doing.
Brilliant. Well, listen, they're giving me the wrap, Blake. So listen, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for a great series. I can't wait to see the rest of it. And I hope to speak to you again sometime soon, sir. All the very best.
Take care.
All right,
Cheers.
take care.
I want my life back.
Do you ever get that feeling? Want to kiss and hug her?